Did you know that the age gap dynamic is one of the most clicked movie genres on YouTube, bringing in millions of views overnight? Audiences are completely obsessed with the psychological tension, forbidden chemistry, and high-stakes drama that only a massive age difference can create. In this video, we are diving deep into Hollywood's best. From mind-bending psychological thrillers to heart-wrenching classic romances, here are the top 12 younger woman, older man Hollywood relationship movies you need to watch right now. Number 1. Miller's Girl. Imagine an assignment so provocative it ruins a teacher's entire life. In this psychological thriller, Jenna Ortega plays Cairo Sweet, a brilliant but deeply isolated 18-year-old student living alone in her family's massive Tennessee mansion. She sets her sights on her creative writing professor, Jonathan Miller, played by Martin Freeman, who hasn't published a single page since turning to teaching. When Cairo is tasked with writing about her greatest achievement for a Yale admissions essay, she decides to create a real-life narrative by seducing him. What starts as an intellectual battle of wits quickly crosses legal and moral lines after a late-night encounter leads to a highly explicit, provocative short story. When Miller rejects the piece and calls out her behavior, Cairo's obsession shifts to pure malice. She weaponizes the school system to systematically dismantle his career, his marriage, and his sanity, proving that her ultimate achievement was his orchestrated downfall. Number 2. Honora. This raw Hollywood masterpiece tracks a wild, cross-class age gap that completely shatters expectations. Mikey Madison stars as Honora, a 23-year-old exotic dancer from Brooklyn who catches the eye of Ivan, the impulsive 21-year-old son of a terrifyingly powerful Russian oligarch. Swept up in an intoxicating whirlwind of private jets, limitless cash, and a sudden Las Vegas elopement, Honora believes she has found her fairy tale escape. However, the reality of the age and class gap hits like a freight train when Ivan's furious parents fly from Russia to New York to force an annulment. As international fixers and henchmen descend on their home, Ivan turns out to be a spineless coward and flees, leaving Honora to physically and verbally fight for her dignity, entirely on her own. It is an unpredictable, fast-paced, and wildly emotional look at exploitation and the cold illusion of marrying into power. Number 3. Priscilla. Directed by Sofia Coppola, this biographical drama pulls back the curtain on one of the most famous and controversial age gaps in American history. The story follows a young, school-aged Priscilla Beaulieu as she gets swept into the surreal, overwhelming world of a much older Elvis Presley. Instead of focusing on the rock and roll glamour from Elvis's perspective, the film stays firmly with Priscilla as she transitions from a starstruck teenager into a prisoner of Graceland. The film exposes the dark isolation, intense control, and emotional weight of growing up under the thumb of an older superstar who carefully curates her clothes, her hair, and her entire life. It is a quiet, haunting, and incredibly stylized deconstruction of a legendary romance that felt more like a golden cage. Number 4. The Voyeurs. What happens when innocent people watching turns into a dangerous obsession? This sleek streaming thriller stars Sydney Sweeney as a young woman who, along with her boyfriend, moves into a beautiful downtown apartment. They quickly realize they have a direct view into the window of an older, highly attractive couple across the street who never close their blinds. What begins as a cheeky, late-night amusement turns into a full-blown addiction, as Sydney's character witnesses a series of infidelities, lies, and dark secrets. As she crosses the line from a passive observer to an active participant, she is drawn directly into their orbit. The age and maturity gap becomes a sinister weapon as the older couple plays a lethal game of manipulation, proving that in this neighborhood, someone is always watching and the cost of looking is deadly. Number 5. Lost in Translation. Can two strangers find a soulmate connection when they are decades apart in age? Bill Murray and Scarlett Johansson star in this beautifully melancholic Hollywood classic set in the neon-lit, alienating streets of Tokyo. He is Bob Harris, an aging, cynical movie star shooting a lucrative whiskey commercial, and she is Charlotte, a young philosophy graduate wife left behind in her hotel room by her workaholic photographer husband. Their bond isn't built on physical obsession or predatory dynamics, but on shared existential dread and isolation. Through late-night lounge conversations, karaoke sessions, and quiet walks through Japan, they form an deeply intimate, transient romance that defies the decades between them. creating one of the most profoundly emotional and celebrated age gap relationships in cinema history. Number 6. The Crush. Long before modern thrillers, this 90s cult classic set the blueprint for the obsessed younger woman genre. A 14-year-old Adrian, played spectacularly by Alicia Silverstone, becomes utterly infatuated with Nick, an older journalist played by Carrie Elwes, who rents the guest house on her family's wealthy estate. Adrian is brilliant, manipulative, and entirely unaccustomed to being told no. When Nick firmly rejects her romantic advances due to her age, her brilliant mind turns completely sinister. Her infatuation instantly morphs into a terrifying campaign of revenge, framing him for crimes, orchestrating violent accidents for his friends, and engaging in psychological sabotage. It is a tense, fast-paced thriller that perfectly highlights the terror of an older man completely defenseless against a brilliant, unhinged teenager. Number 7. An Education. Set in the conservative gray world of 1960s London, a bright 16-year-old schoolgirl named Jenny has her sights set on breaking out of her suburban life and attending Oxford University. However, her structured academic existence is completely derailed when she meets David, a charming, sophisticated, and wealthy man in his 30s. David easily manipulates Jenny's strict parents, gaining their trust to take her to art auctions, smoky jazz clubs, and glamorous weekend trips to Paris. Jenny quickly abandons her studies, blinded by the luxury and intellectual validation of an older man's lifestyle. But the fairy tale crashes down when she uncovers the dark, criminal underbelly of how David funds his life, offering a bittersweet, eye-opening lesson about the dangers of losing your identity to someone else's curated world. Number 8. Poison Ivy. Drew Barrymore delivers a stunningly wicked and iconic performance as Ivy, a seductive, manipulative teenager from a broken home who hooks her claws into a wealthy, naive classmate. Once invited into the classmate's luxurious mansion, Ivy systematically targets the older father of the house, played by Tom Skerritt. Exploiting the mother's chronic illness and the father's midlife vulnerabilities, Ivy plays a calculated, highly seductive game of psychological warfare. She slowly replaces the mother, alienates the daughter, and drives the older patriarch into a state of blind, obsessive lust that completely tears the household apart from the inside out. It is a premier, suspenseful Hollywood thriller packed with relentless drama and high-stakes tension. Number 9. Chloe. When a successful gynecologist, played by Julianne Moore, suspects her handsome, older professor husband, Liam Neeson, of cheating on her, she decides to take matters into her own hands. She secretly hires a breathtakingly beautiful, much younger escort named Chloe, played by Amanda Seyfried, to test his fidelity in the real world. However, the experiment spirals completely out of control. Chloe begins meeting the wife in secret, delivering hyper-detailed, highly erotic accounts of how easily she seduced the husband. These graphic reports create a strange, voyeuristic obsession for the wife, pulling the older couple and the young woman into a claustrophobic, dangerous love triangle where boundaries blur, lives are ruined, and no one's secrets are safe. Number 10. Entrapment. This high-octane heist movie features one of the most legendary casting age gaps in Hollywood history, pairing a suave, elderly Sean Connery with a young, peak career Catherine Zeta-Jones. She plays Virginia Baker, an ambitious insurance investigator who goes undercover to entrap a legendary aging master thief named Mac. To catch him, she convinces him she is a thief herself, leading to an intense partnership filled with grueling physical training, high-tech robberies across Kuala Lumpur, and a thick layer of mutual distrust. As the stakes get higher, the professional lines disintegrate into an undeniable, forbidden romantic tension. The immense age difference only adds to the film's smooth, high-stakes charm, proving that chemistry can completely bridge a 30-year gap. Number 11. Autumn in New York. Richard Gere plays Will Keane, a wealthy 50-something New York restaurateur and notorious serial playboy who treats relationships like short, temporary seasons. He avoids commitment at all costs until he meets Charlotte, a vibrant, free-spirited 22-year-old woman played by Winona Ryder. Initially viewing her as just another casual, easy fling, Will is completely disarmed when Charlotte matches his wit and forces him to genuinely feel something. However, just as he begins to fall deeply in love, she drops a devastating bombshell. She is harboring a fatal terminal heart condition. What follows is a beautifully shot, classic Hollywood tearjerker that explores the painful weight of time, showing an older man desperately trying to save the young woman who finally taught him how to live. Number 12. The Age of Adeline. This film delivers a brilliant, fantastical, sci-fi twist on the older man, younger woman dynamic. Adeline Bowman, played by Blake Lively, miraculously stops aging at 29 years old after a freak car accident. For over 8 decades, she lives a solitary life, constantly changing her identity so she isn't captured or studied. In the modern day, she falls for a charismatic young philanthropist, but the emotional tension reaches an absolute boiling point when she goes to meet his family. There, she comes face to face with the young man's older father, played by Harrison Ford, who happens to be the exact man Adeline loved, broke the heart of, and abandoned 40 years prior. The profound psychological tension of an old man recognizing the young woman he never forgot is pure cinematic gold. If you enjoyed this ultimate countdown of Hollywood's most intense age gap relationships, smash that like button right now. Drop a comment sharing which movie on this list shocked you the most. Share this video with your fellow movie lovers and subscribe to the channel for more daily cinema breakdowns.